Today's topic, I'm going to discuss the ins and outs of withdrawing your TSP account before you retire. So this is for the individual that's still working as a federal employee, and then they're looking to leverage their Thrift Savings Plan account, doing this before they actually hit their ideal retirement age. Why would that be beneficial? What are some of the common mistakes that individuals make when trying to do that? And then the different nuances to try to create some sort of strategy behind taking that distribution or that rollover opportunity and customize it to attain some sort of specific goal. So what is a TSP withdrawal while working? And what happens is when you're a federal employee, and let's say you attain age 59 and a half, it allows you to become eligible for an in-service withdrawal or an in-service rollover. So even though it's technically called in-service withdrawal, that does not mean that you have to go and liquidate out of your entire Thrift Savings Plan account and throw those monies into a cash account and have to get taxed on all those dollars. There's ways on how you could leverage your Thrift Savings Plan, roll it over to an IRA, and then divvy that up into multiple IRAs to have them customized and create some sort of trajectory for a specific purpose. So you could create a purpose for income planning, you create a purpose for emergency planning, and then also for growth planning, and a kind of a little bit of nuances within those three specific areas as well. So the way on how somebody's able to make those withdrawals, if let's say they didn't sever employment, but for that individual that says, hey, listen, I understand I'm 59 and a half or I'm 60 years old. I want to still work for the federal government for another 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years, whatever that is, before I hit my ideal retirement date. Is there opportunity that I could take these dollars, kind of think of the Thrift Savings Plan like a bucket, take the money, preserve what you've already accumulated, place that over into an IRA and have it serve a better purpose for you than sitting in that Thrift Savings Plan. Now be mindful when you do that rollover, you do that withdrawal sort of mechanism, you're still going to have a Thrift Savings Plan sitting there. It's just going to now be sitting at a $0 balance where you can still accumulate it for the number of years that you're going to be working. So if you're going to still be working until age 65 as an example, you still have the accumulation opportunity of placing your contributions in there, getting a match onto that account, and then also your rate of return that's coming back based on the different investment options that you choose within your Thrift Savings Plan. So then ideally when you fast forward and let's say that person wants to ideally retire at the age 65, they would have preserved their account at age 60, placed into an IRA, would have constructed strategies towards those IRA accounts and customize it while you had 5 years extra of growth. So then when you hit that age 65 marker, a scenario could look as beautiful as I'm receiving Social Security income at 65. I'm triggering my pension income at age 65. I have another portion of TSP monies that I've accumulated for these last 5 years. And then now I have these IRAs that are sitting here from what I did from that move that I made at age 60 with my original Thrift Savings Plan monies. So I'm going to unravel all this information, but just be mindful that you do have an opportunity. Every individual, every federal employee has an opportunity to take their monies and roll over their Thrift Savings Plan, and they do not have to stop working. They can still work, but take advantage of that rollover opportunity where maybe some private institutions or public institutions don't allow that person to have access to that employer-sponsored retirement account. Thrift Savings Plan has the beauty of letting you do that and then making sure that you could create the correct strategies that are better than just staying in the Thrift Savings Plan. Now, on the opposite side, if you don't know what strategy to leverage, if you're kind of confused and you're just trying to make a withdrawal because your peers are doing the same thing, that's going to obviously be a problem. There has to be some sort of mathematical move or some sort of system behind it on doing the rollover, doing the withdrawal to make sure that's going to reach your retirement success or what you see as your ideal retirement situation. The largest question or the most important question is, why would somebody want to make this move? Why would they try to withdraw their money or do some sort of rollover when they hit that attained age 59 and a half while still working for the federal government? Why wouldn't they just wait until their ideal retirement date? Let's say if that's 65 as an example. And the reason being is because of the flexibility versus the restrictions. When you have your money sitting in the Thrift Savings Plan, you're limited on the different growth opportunities. And really the main purpose of utilizing that account is for a growth related strategy. If let's say you want to, as you're nearing retirement and you're within 10 years out from retirement, there's opportunities that by taking those monies, rolling them over into IRAs, you could create better growth strategies because you have a more slew of options available. So you could have different things that have higher quality related funds. You could match them up better to what your risk tolerance is. You could create income related strategies to say, okay, at age 65, I need X amount of dollars of income. I'm receiving Social Security income, I'm receiving pension income, but I'm going to have the specific gap there. I could use the smallest dollars from my thrift savings plan, place it into a customized IRA strategy that's not available through the thrift savings plan options, and now it would basically close up that gap, and you're using extremely small dollars to do it. So I'm going to go over a couple examples on that. And let's say that an individual has enough money, enough income coming to them in retirement, if they ideally want to, let's use that age 65 example again, and they have Social Security coming to them, they have pension income coming to them as a federal employee at that specific point in time, and that their income sources are greater than or equal to their expenses in retirement. So they don't have to leverage their thrift savings plan for an income-related strategy or an income-related need. Well, then from a growth perspective, if you're looking at fixed accounts, well, you might just have that one G fund account that's sitting in the thrift savings plan. By taking the monies out and putting them into customized IRA, you could leverage bank-related products, insurance-related products, different things that could give you a significantly higher rate of return on just the fixed side, let alone if you want to get more intricate with your planning and you want to go into some sort of aggressive funds or high-quality funds, whether that be mutual funds, ETFs, growth-related stocks, whatever that case is. Basically, the sky's the limit. You have hundreds and hundreds of different opportunities of different investments available outside of the thrift savings plan, where inside of the thrift savings plan, you're limited with those funding options. So from a growth perspective, it could be a better route. From an income perspective, it could be a significantly better route. From an emergency perspective, it could be pretty even keel there. So it really just depends on what you're trying to accomplish, what you see as your ideal retirement situation, your ideal retirement goal, and then which areas or which strategies are going to get you there the quickest and the most efficient possible, so that you're saving thousands of more dollars, keeping it in your pocket and being flexible with those monies, as opposed to keeping it handcuffed or throwing it towards the wrong area. And that could result in retirement failure. So any little tweak that you could make to make sure that you're putting yourself in a better mathematical move, and at the end of the day, is just going to produce some sort of retirement success. So up on the screen, we have an individual that's currently age 60, and they have accumulated $400,000 in their thrift savings plan account. So if we think of the thrift savings plan like a bucket, that bucket is valued at $400,000. How did this bucket get to that size? Well, it grew by the contributions that this individual was placing into the plan, and then also the matching money from the federal government, from basically the employer, that was also being placed into this account. So it was the contributions that were going in there, and then the rate of return, which is based on the different investments and the different allocations that he chose. So the longer that he was placing contributions in there, and the positive rate of return grew with the power of compound interest, this bucket. So now when we fast forward and this person's age 60, they have this $400,000 bucket sitting there. Now, if this individual wants to ideally retire at age 65, but because he hit age 59 and a half, he's eligible to take this money, take either all of it or a portion of the thrift savings plan bucket, and utilize that to some sort of strategy to accomplish his need, to accomplish his goal at his ideal age 65. So we know his point A is age 60, his point B is age 65. After doing budgeting analysis and figuring out what his expenses are right now, and then what his expenses are projected to be from age 65 until date of death, we understand that this individual in this hypothetical example has an $80,000 annual expense need. Now, he also is going to be receiving some guaranteed cash flows through Social Security income of $30,000 per year, and then also pension income of $40,000 per year. So we take the $30,000 and the $40,000, that equals $70,000. This shows us that this individual still has a gap of $10,000. He's 5 years out from retirement, but he could take advantage of the $400,000 rollover into an IRA, create a customized IRA for a specific income goal to close up that $10,000 gap at that age 65, while leaving his extra monies aside for emergency-related needs and growth-related needs, based on what his preferences, based on what are most important to that individual. So what you'll notice down here is a three-legged stool. One of the fantastic things with all federal employees is they have a retirement, and think of it like, and you might have heard the terminology known as the three-legged stool. It's because they have the opportunity to receive income streams in 3 separate areas. They could receive it from their Social Security income, they could receive it from their pension income, and then from their existing assets that they've saved. So whether that's from their IRA monies, their Thrift Savings Plan monies, any non-qualified accounts, any sort of brokerage accounts, anything else that they saved on the back end, those are also monies that they could utilize for income-related strategies when they hit their ideal retirement date. So because they're receiving lifetime income, they never have to go back to work. As long as their income is greater than or equal to their expenses, they'd never have to go back to work because they know that it's based on either their life or theirs and their spouse's life to the day that that individual passes away. So it makes retirement planning very simple. Now, by unraveling this, be mindful of this formula. Contributions and rate of return equals what the account balance is, and this account balance is showing at $400,000. So what are some different mechanisms that an individual could do to either take it in the form of a withdrawal or take it in the form of an in-service rollover into an IRA, and then also customize those IRAs into their own specific lane for max efficiency. So maybe in this specific example, when this individual hits that in-service age where they're eligible now to roll over as they're still working as a federal employee for ideally the next 5 years, they could take the $400,000 bucket, which was in the Thrift Savings Plan, and roll it over into portions of a few different IRA accounts. So maybe to close up that gap, that $10,000 gap at age 65, this person would make the move to take $100,000 from their $400,000 account, place it in with IRA number 1. That's going to result in $10,000 of cash flow that would go to that individual for the rest of their life, starting at age 65. So what they're doing is they're making this move at age 60, they're deferring those 5 years and then triggering income from this IRA number 1. With that being said, because out of the $400,000 that this individual accumulated, it only cost, or they only needed to leverage $100,000 towards IRA number 1 to accomplish that income-related need. Maybe because their expenses are $80,000, they want to leave $50,000 into some sort of safety-related account. So whether that be money market accounts or shorter-term bank CDs or some sort of non-invested positions that are just basically sitting there in case of an oh my gosh moment was to occur, that they could leverage at that age 65 and above or and beyond, or before that point. So maybe out of that $300,000 remaining, they take $50,000 and they're placing that into IRA number 2 towards that safety related play. And now it becomes fun because they have $250,000 remaining that could go into IRA number 3 or a combination of different IRAs for that step 3, that growth related need. So maybe this individual wants to leverage different mutual funds, different ETFs, different growth related stocks. Maybe they want to utilize different speculative investments, different cryptocurrencies, maybe longer term duration accounts, longer term fixed index annuities or market linked CDs, or longer term bonds. There's a whole slew of different things that they could do when they have all their leftover money set on the side. So with any sort of plan, you should try to use the smallest dollars only as much as necessary towards the most conservative areas, so that you have as much growth and much flexibility towards those step 3 buckets, towards really those growth related needs. Because if the market's going to ebb and flow and you have this IRA number 3 that's tailored to the market, well, if the market goes down, you're not going to panic as much if you have your safety nets in place. You know that your Social Security income is coming to you, your pension income is coming to you, and then income from your IRA that you've created successfully at that age 60 to get triggered at age 65 is also coming to you. You have your emergency needs met, and then you also have your growth strategy, your ancillary dollars left over as well to accumulate at an astronomical basis. Also, that's not where basically everything stops, because you still have 5 more years of accumulation. What do I mean by that? So even though they've rolled out their Thrift Savings Plan, now their Thrift Savings Plan is just going to be starting at a $0 balance as they preserve their monies and they're putting it towards a better strategy, a better trajectory. So if you have $100,000 sitting with IRA number 1, $50,000 sitting with combinations of IRA number 2, $250,000 sitting with combinations of IRA number 3, and your initial starting value at age 60 for the Thrift Savings Plan, because you rolled those dollars out, well, you're still going to be making contributions. You're still going to be getting matching money into those accounts, which you're going to be adding to those positives on the contribution side. And then you're still going to have that opportunity to invest those dollars in the different funds that you have available with your Thrift Savings Plan account. So if you're shelling away an additional $15,000, $20,000 of contributions per year into your Thrift Savings Plan, if we're also incorporating match in there, you're able to put in an extra $100,000 of contributions for 5 years plus whatever it gains to, where now you have a nice fat bucket sitting there that could be added towards that growth-related strategy, or some additional mechanism that will be ideal for your retirement situation at that later date. So then when you hit that age 65, then you could take the existing thrift savings plan that you've rolled up for the last 5 years and now roll that over into another slew of different customized IRAs that will put you in a better position. And it really just comes down to the flexibility versus the restriction. Something giving you a slew of different options versus only having 10 to 20 different options that you are unfortunately subject to with just going into your thrift savings plan only. So I hope that this makes sense. Now, the most common mistakes that individuals make when they start nearing their retirement age and they hit that age 59 and a half, eligible to do an in-service rollover, an in-service withdrawal, is they do not have a concrete plan in place. There's 3 most important steps for any sort of retirement plan. 1, you want to create the vision. What do you see as your ideal retirement scenario? What is your ideal age? What are the different things that you want to do throughout retirement? What is the math behind that? So understanding what the expense or what the budgeting analysis is to make that attainable. Does that say, okay, when I hit age 65, me and my spouse want to travel the world for the next 5, 10 years, where there's going to be a cost with that. Maybe you're going to have a mortgage that's going to be paid off as you hit your ideal retirement date. And that's when you want to, ideally retire. So maybe you have a reduction in costs. So understanding what are your expenses are going to be the most important aspect. But seeing what your vision is, seeing what your deathbed scenario is, of saying, if I'm sitting on my deathbed, I want to make sure that I've already accomplished X, Y, Z. And this is what I could back up into my visualization and back up into the math. From there, is your current plan or is your current situation going to be able to make that visualization attainable? If it's not, then there's specific tweaks that you have to make. I was showing you an example of very easy tweaks to make, but there's a whole slew of different accounts. There's a whole slew of different strategies. If you have to create an income plan, you want to make sure that you're utilizing the smallest dollars only as much as necessary so that you could leave it to step 2, that emergency related need or their safety related accounts. Whatever you don't use up for step 1 and 2 of income and emergency, well, then that's what you could have as your fund monies, as your step 3, to give you the most control possible. Maybe you want to utilize that as inheritance maximization or legacy planning, or this is just my slush fund. If the market does well, if I'm growing, if I'm creating this account for growth related needs, and my growth has been enormous for this year, has been sustainable for this past 12 months, I want to utilize the growth in that account to take an extra trip for me and my family, me and my spouse. There's a whole slew of different things, but it's really painting that picture, seeing what your current situation is. Is it attainable to what you're doing right now to really, have that retirement success? If there's not, then you should be asking for help, or at least try to look for different solutions. That's what we try to help out individuals on a daily basis all across the country. If you found value in this video and you'd like to speak with a specialist to try to help out with your specific situation, understanding what your budgeting analysis is, helping you understand what your retirement vision is, feel free to give our 1-800 number a call. It's 1-800-566-1002. We're available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Just make sure to reference this video, withdrawing from TSP before I retire, and we will create the correct appointment with the correct advisor, correct specialist for your specific situation. Also, feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Retire Sharp, so you can have access to the most updated videos. Thanks so much, guys.